It wasn't pretty, but this ain't a pageant. The Bills coming away with a win over the Pats after spotting them 14 to start. Josh Allen's numbers, not gaudy per usual, but a win is a win. And with that win, the Bills preventing the Chiefs from locking up that all-important 1 seed. 14-1, still the going rate with the Chiefs having already won. They will be in action on Christmas Day against who, Mac?
The Steelers.
Those Pittsburgh Steelers who still, despite the loss to the Ravens, maintain their spot as a division leader and a potential 3 seed. We will get to it all, but we will start with that conversation at the top. Obviously, it looks like Kansas City has more than an inside track. You take care of business on Christmas Day against the Steelers, and it's the 1 seed. You can get some rest in Week 18. Good for some, bad for others. Yep. We'll stack all that up, but when you look at Buffalo and the effort they put forth here today, are you comfortable with a 2 seed Buffalo having to go on the road at some point, potentially through Arrowhead Stadium, or does this need to be an all-out effort for that 1 seed and hope you get some help from KC?
Of course, if you're Buffalo, you would love to have the number 1 seed because that guarantees a first-round bye. That guarantees everything in the playoffs has to come through your house. But if they're not able to get the number 1 seed, I'm comfortable with Buffalo being at 2, and here's why. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League on their team in Josh Allen. They're not afraid of the best team in the AFC in Kansas City. They've been able to beat Kansas City at home or on the road. Granted, those victories happened during the regular season, but that's a confidence booster, not to mention they beat Kansas City this year in Buffalo. So when you look at having that on their side and knowing that they can beat Kansas City at any given time, I like their mindset going into Arrowhead if that is the case. But when you have Josh Allen, you have more than a fighting chance. Hopefully he is healthier than what he is now in terms of playoff play, but just having him in the lineup means a lot for Buffalo, and they can be overly successful doing so.
Here we look at the road ahead for these two. It's a meeting with the Jets and then the Patriots once again for Buffalo. Not going to put anything in the win column, but you're expecting 14-3 to be the finish there, where they will then need losses against the Steelers and the Broncos by Kansas City. They will then have that head-to-head to take that 1 overall seed. Let's talk about those Pittsburgh Steelers who are feeling a little bit differently offensively specific right now than they were a few weeks ago when Russ lights the thing on fire. We're saying they can win in different ways. That was with George Pickens. In the absence of him, this offense has become something else. And now that race in the North looks a whole lot different. I know you bleed the black and yellow, but when you're looking at those two assets right now, the Ravens and the Steelers, you got to feel better about the purple, no?
Well, no question, because they have the better quarterback out of the two. Lamar Jackson is not just the better quarterback in comparison to Russell Wilson. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the National Football League. It starts with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, in my opinion, if you had to rank the top 2 quarterbacks in the National Football League. So when you have that player on your side, you have to like your chances, not to mention the running game, right? We saw them lean on the running game with Derrick Henry. When they have that mindset offensively, they're a tough out for any opposing team. But in terms of Pittsburgh, yes, they lost yesterday, but if you look at how they lost, not protecting the football, not playing Steeler-like football. You talk about turnovers, untimely turnovers, opportunity to score. Russell fumbles the football inside the 5-yard line. Better yet, took points off the scoreboard. Then the last turnover that surfaced was an interception that put points on the scoreboard for the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson on the sideline.
And you zoom out, that was the problem 2 weeks ago with Najee having one hit him in the chest. They got to protect the football.
You have to protect the football because we saw what led to Pittsburgh beating Baltimore the first time, right? Sloppiness in terms of penalties and then turnovers. Well, Pittsburgh decided to give the Baltimore Ravens the same gift they received weeks ago in Acrisure Stadium. When you're playing against playoff caliber teams with great players like a Lamar Jackson, you cannot have turnovers surface, and better yet, you cannot allow his defense to put points on the scoreboard while he's sitting on the sideline covered up in a big jacket.
While it won't lock anything up, Christmas Day does feel like the moment for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you can take care of the Kansas City Chiefs, you remain in line for what could be a division title and a 3 seed. If not, you're likely looking at a Baltimore team with that remaining schedule. If they take care of business against the Texans in Houston on Christmas Day, it's just a meeting with the Browns standing between them and a North title. Who wants the wild card? Well, someone's going to have to take it. Nobody wants it. And the matchups, those might go a long way as well. A moment of applause for the young star. Jaden Daniels, adding to his already growing rookie resume as he leads a game-winning drive against the top defense by the numbers in the NFL. Washington upsetting the Eagles and putting their 1 seed hopes up for grabs. Here's a look at that NFC playoff picture. The Lions sitting at 13-2, as are the Vikings, who, even at 13-2, find themselves in that wild card positioning due to the Lions' dominance and that tiebreaker. The Eagles, meantime, a 2 seed, having locked up the division at 12-3, will need a certain set of circumstances to work their way back up to 1, with the Vikings and the Lions still having a Week 18 meeting. So, Mac, it appears in all likelihood the 1 seed, the NFC North, will come down to Week 18, Vikings and Lions. When you look at what the Vikings have put on tape over this winning streak, it seems like we've been waiting to give them our heart. Like something is holding us back from believing that Minnesota could be a 1 seed. With how dinged up the Lions are, how real are the chances for a 1 seed in Minnesota?
They have a legit chance to get the 1 seed. And I think, to your point, in terms of why we're hesitant to give them our hearts, is because you believe in Sam Darnold, but you're still waiting for the Sam Darnold, oh, that's who he really is moment. But you have to understand something. In this season, under Kevin O'Connell, that old Sam Darnold is long, long gone. We're seeing a guy who believes in the system, most importantly, and he's taking what defenses are giving him, and he's just being the ultimate playmaker for his offense. In the words of Mike Tomlin, make routine plays happen routinely. If you do that, you're going to be in positions to win ball games. And that's what we're seeing from Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
He's making routine plays happen routinely, and he's not trying to press the issue. But to your point, in terms of the final matchup for Minnesota against Detroit, that won't mean anything if they don't take care of their business this upcoming weekend against Green Bay.
Yeah.
Because if you look at what Green Bay has done, granted, they haven't performed yet against the Saints, but if they do not take care of their business against the Packers, whatever happens in Week 17, you know, it's pretty much in favor of the Detroit Lions, especially if Detroit beats San Francisco. So Week 16 is the most important. Week 17 right now for Minnesota is the most important game, because if you take care of your business, all the chips are in the middle of the table. Right. And you still would love to see the San Francisco 49ers play spoiler, similar to what we saw of the Dallas Cowboys against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But you want to take care of your business and not worry about what's going on in the neighborhood, because there lies the opportunity to be window watching and not taking care of what's in front of you. So far, Minnesota they've taken care of their business, and because of that, they're in a very, very unique position to be able to win their division and, most importantly, get the #1 seed in the NFC. I repeat, again, Minnesota has a chance to get the #1 seed with Sam Darnold as their QB1 in the NFC.
You got to say it out loud so it feels real. But I will say this, the 5 seed, if you can stay there, not the worst place to be, as you're going to get that 4, whoever that is coming out of the South, might be limping. I don't know. I don't know how Atlanta feels. A couple important notes there on the road ahead for Minnesota. The Packers, they will have about a day and a half rest advantage on them. Packers playing Monday Night Football. It was a 1 Eastern window for the Minnesota Vikings here on Sunday. That always comes into play, and then it is a trip to Detroit in Week 18. You take them one at a time and see if you end up as a 1 seed. How about a moment for those that broke our hearts? Cowboys, Niners, Cardinals, all eliminated throughout some stretch of this weekend, Mac. Biggest disappointment between the Cowboys, Niners, and Cardinals in your eyes is who?
The Cardinals. The Cardinals. Because the Cardinals had an opportunity to keep their playoff hopes alive. You know who killed their playoff hopes? Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. Think about that. Kyler Murray lost to Bryce Young, right? In a game where you knew you needed to win just to keep your hopes alive. And who knows what could happen in terms of that 6th or 7th spot in the NFC. But because they, as a team, came out, they were lackadaisical, no sense of urgency, came down to a very, very close game. Game went into extra periods. And guess what? Chuba Hubbard is still running for a touchdown last time I checked against the Arizona Cardinals. And think about this. We must remind ourselves, right? The Arizona Cardinals had the hold of the #1 spot in their division.
Leaders in the West.
Weeks. Leaders of the West, right? And people felt like, oh, wow, Arizona can actually do it. But the same things that have followed this organization over the last few years surface. Bad football in the latter moments of the season. We thought it was a Cliff Kingsbury issue, but clearly Cliff is no longer there. Last time I checked, he's where? In D.C. And they're thriving. Right now, Arizona, you're not even surviving. And because of that, you're getting ready for your summer vacations, your off-season vacations, because clearly you had an opportunity to keep those hopes alive in terms of January football, but because you were sleeping at the wheel, not taking care of your business, your season is over. Not mathematically speaking, you still have 2 games left, but in terms of playoff hopes, they're disco dead.
They certainly are, and it is disappointment from where they were, an opportunity to
They were sitting top of the division.
announce themselves as something in the West in a year when San Francisco's down. L.A. was putzing around for a little bit as well.
Seattle was up, then they were down, and everyone was looking at Arizona.
Yeah.
You can't squander away these moments because you never know when you can get back to that level. Heck, Arizona should know it's been a while since they've been able to state a claim on their division to some degree to the weeks that they had that claim this season. It was no longer there.
It was a step forward possible for a franchise quarterback, one that he failed to take. A big disappointment there in the Cardinals. Bigger picture, I thought the Niners would make their way back to the Super Bowl, and it just wasn't that season for them. Let's talk about the South here because the Falcons are back on the right side of that playoff line. It's the Bucs with the loss on Sunday night back in the hunt. They need some help now, but we did see a Falcons team with a new quarterback and maybe not growing pains, but not the explosion onto the scene you wanted to see from Michael Penix. Is it the right quarterback to lead this team to the playoffs?
Yes, it is. And the reason why I say that is because, yeah, he didn't wow you with his numbers individually speaking. But did you guys watch how the team just rallied around him?
Yeah,
it felt like Bijan Robinson had an extra pep in his step. It felt like the offensive linemen had a little more grit in their push in terms of run blocking and protecting their passer. I mean, Mooney, Drake London, both look like our wide receiver ones for their offense. In the defense, they played more inspired football. See, that's the thing in terms of shaking up the personnel, especially at the most important position, because your team will tell you if that was the right decision.
Yeah.
Similar to when we see a head coaching change in season. The team will tell you, you know what? You finally made the right decision. And we're going to go out and play a different brand of ball because we believe now in the person who is in command. And that's what we saw today. But they better travel with that same energy next week because, yes, you got some help from Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys. But if you don't take care of your business against Washington, everything you did today means nothing. They control their own destiny, Joe. You're the Atlanta Falcons. You're the team that was in the midst of a 4-game losing streak at one point in time, and you still have an opportunity to win your division, get into the playoffs, and have a home playoff game. And if it's going to happen, Michael Penix is going to lead you to the promised land. Yes, he didn't wow you with his numbers, but I can tell you this much. Outside of that interception, that was not his fault. By the way, Kyle Pitts, you have to hold on to that pass. Michael Penix did a really, really good job. He was the ultimate point guard for their offense. He was making things happen, given the opportunity to do. He was very, very precise with his decision-making, and he was super accurate with his passes. In his first start, in a win-or-go-home situation, the moment never seemed to be too big for Michael Penix. I love that, but let's see, can he have that same mentality on the road?
Sometimes that pop, that rising tide, it doesn't do the same thing in game 2, and it's going to be a big one, his second game at the Commanders.
Win-or-go-home situation.
In primetime Sunday Night Football, and then the Panthers in Week 18. That's the road ahead for the Falcons. The Buccaneers now sitting at 8-7. They will get the Panthers and the Saints to round out their season.
Joe, we're now living in a world in the NFL where 13-2 gets you a 5th seed.
Welcome to the NFC North.
Wow.